Hello and welcome to another episode of the FPL Hangover podcast where we raise the bar and lower the tone on all things FPL related. It is the 9th of September, folks, 9-9, and that's a date you're going to want to mark in your calendars because down the line when your kids are asking you, why and how did you become so good at FPL? You're going to want to tell them about the time you listened to the first edition of the FPL High Stool. That's right, a new content coming out of the FPL Hangover where we're going to be chatting with FPL managers from around the world, seeing what makes them tick, and what a first guest we have lined up for this evening. But before I can get to that, allow me to introduce a man who unknowingly has put his place on the podcast up for grabs this evening. My current podcast partner in crime, Seamus. How are you getting on, my friend?
Yeah, I'm a bit worried. The emphasis on the current partner in crime.
Very current.
Didn't realize this is a potential audition for what I thought was just a guest, but we could be interviewing. This could actually be a job interview from the sound of
Pretty
it.
much, pretty much. I mean, every time you step behind that microphone, you put your job on the line anyway. But I think tonight you're gonna have to be on your A game because we have a very special guest. It's the first guest we've ever had on a podcast. Are you excited, Seamus?
Yeah, no better man to have on it as well. I won't step on any, introductions. I think you're going to introduce him here in a moment, but yeah, great man for this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if you're finished with the jibber jabbing, we might as well get down to it, ladies and gents, boys and girls, children of all ages. The FPL Hangover podcast proudly presents to you the 1819 number one in Ireland and 27 in the entire goddamn world at FPL Uncorked Cian. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready. Are you ready?
I said, are you ready?
You got my reference this week, so
Yes, I did. Thank you very much.
yeah. How are you getting on, man?
I'm very well, lads. Thanks for having me, first of all. Um, Huge fan of your podcast. So, to be in this position as the first ever guest on the FPL Hangover High Stool is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. What do you think of the name, the FPL High Stool?
Look, it's a great reference to the one time I met you. Um, Mr. Danny Inks gave us a great moment that the Seamus McCarthy may know something about us that other people listening to the podcast don't know what a moment when Danny Inks scored his goal that one time we met at the Goals Beat Up. Um, that photo was absolutely fantastic, James, and it'll go down absolute FPL infamy for me. So, stools don't get much higher. Stools do not get much higher.
They don't. That was actually
You are the raised.
it was
You
actually
raised the bat
something
and you raised the stool.
sorry, I'm chatting over you, Keen, but it's actually something that I didn't even put together until you're talking right now. I didn't even reckon that the high stool like that was going to come into it. It makes it even better. It's an old metal pub from Limerick that Seamus used to frequent, and with the whole drinking themed show that we got going on, that's where that came from. But you just made this 10 times better.
Okay, well, you're welcome, lads. You can use that one. Depends on the post.
You can have that one for free. FPL wise, how's all things looking on your end? Are you looking forward to the start of the new season?
I look forward to the start of every season in FPL. It's for people like us, it's absolutely fantastic. We all we spend Christmas so time, basically. All Christmas come at once, like usually August or July. We're talking September this year, because everything that's gone on. But you always think this is the year I can win FPL. You can't win FPL after game week 5. Usually you're really going to be struggling. Even if you're 200k, you can't win FPL from 200k, in my opinion, from game week 5. But a game week 0, FPL can be won. So this is the moment, lads. If you're not hyped for FPL now, when are you going to be hyped for it?
Yeah, that's nail on the head there. I'm pretty fucking excited. Seamus, are you excited yet? You seem to be in a bit of a malaise right now.
I was way more excited at the end of last season because I finished strong. I had a bad season, especially at the start. Kind of recovered,
got better, rallied, and had a good post lockdown or post restart kind of finish. So I was kind of coming into it on a couple of green arrows, not a bad overall rank to finish off with. I think I finished 70k. And then I was like, yeah, I want to get straight back into it. And like I was saying there, it's kind of Christmas time. You can choose who you want, pick your presents. But now I think FPL were very smart this year, FPL Towers, by pricing everyone so low. Just kind of one. Now everyone's like, how do I get as many of these guys into my team as possible? And I think all the cheapy guys are kind of junk. And with the lack of a preseason to kind of judge players' form on, and like the transfer window being still open and actually quite active and players still moving, like I can see, I could have Ruben Vinagre in my team and then he could be sold to Porto from the sound of it, based on rumors, before, by game week 2, by game week 3. And then you got to factor all these things in. So my head is like starting to like bulge at the moment and may explode by time kickoff on 12:30 on, well, actually the deadline would be 11:30 on Saturday morning. So yeah, it's not as fun as it was 2 weeks ago. Now it's a bit mind melty.
What about you? You agreeing with him there? Is he talking shit again?
No, I see where he's come from. Like, as the deadline comes closer, like you get more stressed. Then I suppose when we didn't even have fixtures, we were like, oh, this is the perfect team. Like, forget you're going to win FPL. There's no matter that way. But then you find out when the fixtures come, oh, you don't have Man City, you don't have Man United, you don't have Burnley, or you don't have Villa. But like, we're not going to worry about that. And you're there, and you're like, oh, do I worry about my team for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 16 weeks? Like, there's a lot going on in the head.
When do I wildcard?
Yeah, and here we are with, I don't know, 3 or 4 days before deadline, and there's so much still that could happen. And even up until, is it game week 4 is when the transfer window closes? Like, so much more can happen.
What?
Like, it's such a...
What are you, like, you're talking about, there is a lot can happen, but you mentioned the wildcards there. How are your views? I'm probably going off tangent here because we had a whole fucking setup planned, but I do want to know, like, there's a lot of people talking about wildcarding early. You listen to, like, Renegades, it's like, oh, get in there, you're going to wildcard early. And before, like, this season really kind of came to pass, or the beginning of the season came to pass, I was like the same. I was like, yeah, maybe that's a mistake. Maybe that's my mistake. I try to hold on to it too quickly, and I should be just looking at 3 to 4 game weeks. But with the whole COVID situation, and you got lads going out picking up prostitutes in a hotel willy-nilly, like, are you thinking...
Speak for yourself.
Are you thinking we need to hold on to the wild card as long as possible, or are you approaching this with a really kind of small game week scope in mind?
Well, like, the way I'm seeing it now is that we have 16 game weeks that we can use it, right? And ideally, if you can get away without using the wild card, that's fucking amazing. Like, but it's not necessarily going to happen. Like, in the season that I did well, I wild card in game week 5. I would like to use it a little bit later on that this year, if at all possible. I used it in game week 8 last year. I didn't do as well in game week 8 wild card as it did the year previous. So, like, it is a lot bit up in the air. I think you need to, like, see how your own team does and play your own game. What a cliche! What a absolute cliche!
It's my favorite cliche of them all. And what about you, Seamus? Are you like wildcarding early in your brain now, or are you the same as Cian? Because I'm exactly with Cian there. I think if you can hold on to it as long as you can, all credit to you. That's a good fucking thing to happen. But like, there is something to be said for that kind of really limited first batch of game week approach, and then you power into a whole bunch more data that we don't have right now.
Yeah, my first wild card always feels like my get out of jail free card. It's all, it's the wild card that can, rescue a bad start. I see it like that. So some people like to use it more aggressively and kind of go, yeah, I'm going to set up my team for 2-3 weeks and then wild card around the international break or something like that, and then set their team up. But if your team's doing really well, you've got all the players you kind of want, and you're like, do I really need to wildcard just to get in all these fringe 4.5 players and stuff like that? Is there a big fixture swing around then? There's a few, but if your player's doing well, you don't need to do it. So I, like, last year, my wildcard in game week 9 after terrible 9 or 8 terrible game weeks, really turned my season around within 3 or 4 weeks, and gave me something to build on, and that saved me. The year before, I didn't use my wild card until
The last minute.
just but in late, like the second last or last game week before it passed in December, because I was in the top 15, 20K like the entire first half of the season, and I was like, I don't really need to use it. I might just kind of use it, and then that allows me to play my second wild card later in the season. So if you can get away with it, it's worth saving. But trying to find the perfect spot, I don't know if we'll need to this year. It'll only come in handy if like whole batches of games are called off. Whereas I think what's more likely is you're going to just have players missing because of COVID test results at various stages. I think Riyad Mahrez is one of these players who, and Laporte have got tested positive for COVID. So they're going to be out for they're not going to play game week 1 anyway. They might miss game week 2. Yeah. So you might have players like that. So I think it just means it's better off having a larger bench. But I don't think you need to save your wild card so much for the COVID risk.
COVID bench, as it's been lovingly named amongst the FPL universe. Cian, I suppose we've been jabbing on about this whole thing a bit long, the current state of affairs. Whereas the real reason you're here is because of your claim to fame, that smashing season you had there 2 years ago. And before we get into it, I just wanted to know basically what your favorite aspects of the game are. What is it that you like about FPL that brings you back every year?
In a way, I've actually been playing in my own little circles. I've been playing variants of fantasy football as good as all my life. So I started kicking the ball, with a 6 or 7, and I remember we used to play a game of bangers. I don't know, was that what you call it, around Limerick?
It was a different thing in Limerick, a completely different thing in Limerick. This is a family-friendly show as well, Cian, so keep it PG.
Teenage years. You just kick the ball off the ball, only one touch. If you miss it, you're up. That kind of crack. We used to play a game of that, and it used to be a case of if you won the first round, you won the Carabao Cups, you win $1 million, and if you win the second round, you win the FA Cup, you win $5 million, and you was build bank that way, and then you used to be all pick around like fantasy squads, and we used to buy players off each other. That's what I was doing at the age of 8. And
gambling behind the parish church, was it?
That was it. Yeah, exactly. Resurrection, good church, good place for it. But I didn't realize last year that I was doing fantasy football since the age of 7 or 8. I thought I was young when I got into playing this the official FPL game when I was 12 or 13. I played then from the official game 12 until I was probably 19, and I was out 12 until I was 22, I'd say. And I was out the game for 4 years, and I came back, and everything just kind of went my way.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to bring up later on, but you're touching on it there. Looking through your game week history, you can see that the year before you smashed it, you actually didn't play at all. What was that all about?
Well, I had played for 3 full seasons, and then you look at I got a rank of 5.9 million. I must have been the only man in the entire world who was listening to the Scoutcast without an FPL team.
What?
So, yeah, I was listening to the Scoutcast from, probably sometime in April onwards. So I had 6 weeks of Scoutcasts under my belt with no FPL team.
What you did? What made you go back there?
Why?
I was getting the urge. I left the game because I was loving when I was in school and early years of college and this and that, but I was never my access to the internet wasn't great. I might an hour in IT class, 5 minutes at the end, I'd log onto my team. I was at a friend's house and log on to their internet. That's the only way I was able to play.
Yeah, you were talking about your internet not being great. I think that's coming true here. Are you living down in the middle of fucking nowhere, Cian, is it?
I'm in the mean streets of Mallow here.
Oh, Mallow, sure.
Like
You're in purgatory, so you're not between anywhere.
Yeah, you kind of faded out there as you were talking about your poor internet connection. So that was kind of appropriate, I guess.
yeah,
Pretty apt
um,
timing.
edit all this, please. Um,
Oh, this is
but
all live unedited, is it?
This is
yeah,
going out live. This is going out live. So I mean, yeah, so basically that's where your love affair with FPL started.
yeah,
I mean, like looking at it from the current day perspective, it's obviously come a long way from kicking football behind the church and trading players with your mates. You've got this whole Twitter fucking community going on. You've got all these different sites. Like these days, where do you actually go for your source of FPL information? Like you mentioned the Scoutcast, so I'm assuming Fancy Football Scout is top of your list, really.
yeah. I know. Scout being my main source of information, really. Um, like they've got some great articles, and in 2018-19, I was reading them almost religiously, like, and some of the stats there that I would have picked up, like I didn't read last season, and you can see the difference in my rank taken down dramatically. This season, I've actually joined Scout as a member,
Okay.
and so I'm hoping that my record might correlate close
Really?
with the 28
So
19.
it took a dodgy year for you to a year that is still pretty decent, 131,000, but it took a dodgy year for you to actually splash out on a bit of membership. Is that it, Cian?
Yeah, I don't subscribe to like basically anything. So like that I've subscribed to Scout is kind of a big deal, like, you know.
Yeah, no, I get you. All right, well, Seamus, you've been going on about that 2018-19 season since I don't know since you fucking met Cian. You've got a couple of questions lined up for him there.
Yeah. So it was that season that we first started interacting back and forth with yourself, Cian. Just talking, you dropping questions to the podcast, and we got chatting, and then it ended up last year meeting up with you at like an FPL meetup down in Cork, which was great crack, and yeah, really got along well with you. But what drove me to kind of to get you on here really was that amazing season, 27th in the world. I can honestly say I don't know anyone who's finished higher than you. Like I don't really know Magnus Carlsen or any of these guys that won it. So yeah, you're probably the highest rank of it. And yeah, my claim to fame before that was I had a top 400 finish, and I thought, yeah, I'm not going to meet anyone now who's going to have a better finish than that. But yeah, you certainly shut me up and put me in my place last season. Well, 2 seasons ago, whatever we're calling it. So I was very interested to know, like, what was it like near the end when you knew you were within it with the chance of actually winning the game at the end of the season? Maybe I don't know how close you were to number one. Do you know?
Oh yeah, I was nowhere near it.
No.
No, honestly, I think the fella that won it that year, like won it by like the greatest margin in the history of FPL. So like he won it by like 50, 60, 70, 80 points, something ridiculous. Like he
Oh wow.
was like unbelievable. Um, but like
Yeah, the almanac.
I do know, like, come like game week 30, for example, and it was coming into chip season that year, and I was like ranked, I don't know, probably 400 or something like that, and I was like, probably top 30 in Ireland, but like I was able to check the people in Ireland ahead of me, and I did a random sample, and basically I had chips in hand over everybody, and I was confident that like, right, I'll be able to catch them, catch that fella, catch her, catch all them, and I was like, yeah, I'll get top 10 right, confident in top 10.
Jesus.
And once I was in top 10, I looked at it again, and yeah, I was feeling it, and I felt like
Nervous.
I felt like I could get second, and with like 3 games to go, I was first.
With
was
three
like,
game weeks to
what
go, you
can
were
happen?
first.
I think so, yeah. No, we dropped down to second again, and I finally took back first in game week 38. Which is probably the most important, really, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah.
Yeah. Who cares about the rest?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I actually worked with a fella. I used to work with a fella, and at one stage in his FPL history, Christmas time, he was Irish number one, and as well, the Irish number 3 in 2018-19, walks 100 meters away from me. I've never met him.
So there's good pedigree down in Cork.
Yeah,
FPL pedigree, yeah.
there's
Oh,
something
fair
in that
play.
square clamber. That's
So does that mean when it was coming into game week 38, when the games are all about to kick off and they all kick off at the same time, that there was no nerves, you were calm about the thing, or were you an emotional wreck?
and I was an emotional wreck. Like, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I've never experienced until this season Liverpool win a league title. Like, I'd seen one European Cup that stage. 2 weeks after all this happened, Liverpool won the second European Cup of my life. But yeah, I remember I watched the first half kind of by myself in one pub, and like, Liverpool were going to be like champions. So, like, that was like real football. I think probably needs to come before FPL.
100%.
Yeah. Um, but like, I think Sadio Mane scored in the first half, and so like that was huge for me because he was my captain. Other fellas said Raheem Sterling, uh, the then Irish number 1, and what happened then was I met my mates in another pub, and they were like, "Cian, how are we getting on?" And I looked at my live rank at one stage, and live rank for the first time all season glitched. Told me I was world number 8. I knew for a fact I wasn't world number 8, but live rank told me I was. And the lads were like, "No, Cian, it's never been wrong. It's right." Like, I done all the maths. Like, I knew I couldn't be number 8. It was and I was pacing up and down the pub now, and fellas like, "What's wrong with you? How much money have you on this?" Like, nothing. I didn't win a whole penny for the season. I was in
You
no.
didn't have a cash league that you won or anything, no?
I wasn't even like in my work league. I was told I couldn't win it, so we didn't put money in it. I was told I never beat John because John at one time was world number 1 in Ireland, or number 1 in Ireland. So I couldn't
Yeah.
beat John. I wasn't going to waste my money losing to John, like. And so yeah, Sadio Mane scored a second, and Sterling, he got a goal or something. But basically, my captain points put me over Barry, and I claimed Irish number 1 by about 10 points.
Well, I think we can all agree anyway. That's something that we'd all like. It's very hard to get number 1 in the world anyway. But if you could get number 1 in your country, I think that's something we would all like be like. I can't even say more than happy with. What comes after more than happy? Ecstatic about. Yeah.
Well,
so fair play.
do you know, in what will I say? Like, when I finally got the result I was looking for, right? Like, I was ecstatic for about half an hour when, like, the adrenaline rush, and then, like, like, adrenaline's like a flight or fright drug.
Or freeze.
So after the flight, the fright hit me big time. Like everything I hoped for all that season finally hit me, right? And I was absolutely miserable.
Really?
One of the lowest points, like, I can ever explain to you. Now, like, I've been lucky with my mental health, compared to lots of other fellas. Oh, I was absolutely miserable that day.
What?
I went home. I couldn't stay out. I had to go home. I went into the shower because I'd work early that morning. I'd the shower then, and I bawled my eyes out.
That's crazy.
Bawled my eyes. I was
You
miserable.
told me that story before, crying
Yeah.
in the shower. Now, I thought those was tears of happiness or just
No.
the stress or the pressure lifting off you, but I didn't realize. So it actually really affected you that way, that you felt that low about it. Do you understand with hindsight now why that might have been the case?
Yeah, well, like, at the time, I suppose I was thinking, like, right, where can I go from here? Like, I've been number 1 in my country. Like, what are the chances of, like, being number 1 in Europe or number 1 in the world? Like, everything I could realistically achieve, I could only go downhill.
So did you think this was the end of your FPL career?
Like, the way my season went at times last year, I was thinking, yeah, I might as well, I should have left it, like,
Yeah.
arrive, raise hell, leave. But
we got another Stone Cold reference. While you're talking
That's
there, Cian, that actually, sorry,
Yeah.
Seamus, I know you're in the zone here, but that brings us,
No.
now that you've really you've been pretty kind to, demonstrate how vulnerable you felt after winning, or winning the country, winning the fucking league in Ireland, coming 27 in the world. And that brings me to Renegade's questions. Now we have a couple of questions we'll get to, but I think this is
Yeah.
particularly apt. And he asks, what is the FPL motivation now that you've already obtained a once in a lifetime rank? What's your target OR at the start of each season since that 27th overall? I think he's really trying to twist a knife in you there, saying that basically you've peaked. And yeah, how does that make you feel?
But you do know that Drew is an elite
Oh,
FPL
I
player.
know. He says it every year.
No, every
Yeah.
year, every
He
week,
does it the same time
right?
that he shows that video from him scoring at Villa Park.
it's going in Villa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he scored in Villa Park one
Yeah.
time.
You're not
Yes,
even in
and
group
the others
chats with
didn't
him.
know.
I don't fucking need to be.
Um, yeah, like, see, I suppose in a way I'm lucky that I try and set like attainable goals, and like I suppose I went into the 18-19 aiming for, I think it was top 1%, which would have been at the time like 68k, and I was in the top K. My lowest rank of that year was game week 1 when I was
Oh,
80k,
boo. Boo-hoo.
and my second lowest rank that year was probably game week 4 when I was 55k. So like, do you know? So I was very fortunate there. Like I was like, oh, this game is
Yeah.
easy. Do you know? It was almost like not beginner's luck because I played many seasons before, but um, restarter's luck or something I had. And but like I was in the top 10k for a long time that season, and I was like my aim was like I can reset. Oh, top 20k, top 20k. Then it was top 10k. Eventually, I was like, right, top 5k, top 1k. But like
Yeah.
it was always goals that I like couldn't fail.
Yeah.
Uh, so like last year, I was like, look, okay, I was world number 27. I set my goal to world 50k. Or like I see so many fellas say that the goal is top 10k. Like I think that's ridiculous. Like you're only setting yourself up for failure.
Well, my goal's number
Like
1 every fucking season.
no,
No, why
no,
not?
you're setting yourself up for failure.
I.
Because like how many people can get world number 1 every year?
You're also setting yourself under.
At least 2.
Yeah, at least 2. We know from this season it's definitely 2 anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting approach though. So, like you will still reassess your targets even after that amazing season. You were still saying the following year, top 50k is my goal. Was it?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
look, if I was solidified in top 50k, I might have said 20k. And like, if I was to say 20k now, I probably would have had to been 5k to say that.
Yeah. And if you would have been 50k by Christmas, would you have still said, no, I can kick on from here, or would the goal have been to just maintain that rank? Do you think?
I would have said at 50k because, like, there's no point in putting more stress in this game than there needs to be, right? And I'm one of the fellas, and I do come out of the game stressed. So, like, imagine if I set myself a goal, if I don't get top 10k this year, like, what's the point? So, like, I got 131. Thanks for reminding me, Jar, this year.
You're welcome. I think I
That should be
think you beat me by
131k.
about
That should be
20,000.
Oh, sorry, that I forget. Yeah, sorry. Um,
just considering you were 27 earlier, and that was actually just 27.
just 27. Yeah, bit of a change, right? Um, yeah, like 50k, 131k. Like there isn't really that much of a difference in terms of points. There's probably 10 points. Like
No, there's not a whole lot. There's more than 10, like, but there's not that much. Yeah.
It's nothing outrageous. Like, but if I'd said I needed to get top 10k, and I was 120k places away, and I was 70 points away, like, you know, I don't think that would have been healthy for me. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same as FPL managers. Like, does this affect you week to week? Like,
Mental health wise,
yeah, like, do you feel down? Do you get the red arrow? Do you feel up
I
big time?
I mean, I do. I completely understand where you're coming from, and I would be lying if I said it didn't affect my mental health. But I'm lucky in the sense that it's really concentrated bursts, so I'll be like an absolute cunt for about an hour, and then I'll just remember that it's, you know, a game where you, as Joe and Fantasy Football Scout says, you know, you're just moving colored fucking jerseys around a pitch. You know, it's not in, but I mean that's just me probably being used to, you know, whatever fucking reframing some bullshit in my life that I'm going to throw into FPL. But there is managers. I know Seamus, like, and I'm going to speak on his behalf here. I'm just going to mute his microphone so you can't change what I say. But I'm going to, like, I know Seamus gets very ratty. Like, he'll be pissy for days. You're looking...
Lies.
It's not a lie. It's the truth.
Lies. I am so chilled about this whole FPI game. You wouldn't even
I'll
believe.
have to bring him on before we record an episode. If it's gone arseways, we'll hit, you know, the video call, or we'll drop over whatever way it was, and I'll have to plamass him for at least an hour to get him back into that smiley face that you see in front of you. And yeah, no, I completely get it. There's people there, you see them, they're dropping off of Twitter, or they're, you know, they're just staying away from it because it can be overwhelming, especially like these massive highs and shitty ass lows that the vast majority of FPL managers have.
Yeah, like, can I just say, like, I had a 30k finish. The following year, I probably 120k finish, which is better than what I had this year. And I left the game for 4 years after. Like, you know, I knew I couldn't dedicate the time that following season to get a decent rank. And I said, look, if I'm not going to do well, I'm not going to give myself the misery that comes with it, like, because I wasn't going to get the heist.
That was going to be one of my questions. Why did you take not just, I had a year out. I'm only noticing now it was actually 3 years out and like another almost a fourth year out.
I played.
Is that the reason why?
I played literally gaming 38.
Yeah,
and I got in that week. I got like a 100k rank, top 100k rank. No, obviously, essentially a free hit.
It's not. It's bullshit, Cian. Is what that is right there.
Yeah, I was one of those Saudi Arabian guys like that went for like, I'm going to be the one.
That was your Saudi Arabian face, was it?
That was my Saudi Arabian face. Yeah.
I feel like you're
so, but is that the reason why you had a bad follow up to a pretty good year the year before, and you knew you couldn't dedicate the time to it, so it was like, right, I'm out.
I hadn't dedicated the time the year previous when I got the, what was it, 200k or something. It was.
I have yours up here now. You would have come 267k.
Yeah. I hadn't dedicated much time to it that year, and I didn't enjoy it. So I was like, I'm not going to take the misery that comes with it for another year.
But you were itching, man. You were itching by game week 38.
Oh, I was itching. Sure, didn't I tell you I was the only man that did chip strategy with our team?
Yeah, just if I was playing it, this is what I would do.
Yeah.
You had shown before that that season, you said you couldn't commit the time to it, that you'd had 3 top 100k finishes in the 4 seasons before that. So you obviously knew what you were doing there and then, but hadn't had the success that came along in 18-19 before then. You know, no, I think that was your first time finishing in the top 30k, and what a way to do it.
Yeah, I think I went in and, like, I suppose I had no fear, and I had no like prior knowledge of a lot of the players. Like, you know, when like, oh, such and such was great last year at 6 million, but he's now 9 million. Like, so like,
right.
He's not the same player now when he's 9 million. You like, every season you need to come in with a completely fresh set of eyes.
Okay. So that leads me to a couple of questions I want to ask. Because it's great having you on the show, but I want to extract some knowledge from this. I want to know how you did it so I can do it, because I can't remember what I did that year I finished top 400. It's too long ago and I can't remember. Yeah, this is pressure in your mind.
No, you said, like, I found this notebook today of, like, you know, I tried writing back my whole season of like how I got on, you know,
every year.
And in retrospect, of 18-19, and look, I got probably 15 of the game weeks written out because I went into too much detail.
Yeah.
And the game actually restarted very soon, and that was that. But look, I read it again today just before I came on, and like, so much of it came back. It makes loads of sense why I did well, and I need to like use that going forward.
What stands out as something that you might have forgotten from that year?
like that year, there was no fear. Like Salah would got was it 34 goals or something the year previously, and like Salah was essential, and Andy Robertson was essential. Instead of having those two lads, I had Trent for 5 million, and I had Sadio Mane for 9.5. So I was after saving 4 million there, like, and I redistributed those funds, and I wasn't afraid to like jump on and off
So what
players.
you're saying is that, like, I assume you're using the word essential there sarcastically, in the sense that there is no such thing.
There is no such
I
thing.
agree with
No.
you 100%. And I don't know if you listened to the last episode, Cian, but that's something that I feel I've learned since last year, really. And it's something I always believed in. Of course, there's essential players. There has to be. There's players that are just, it's idiotic to not have them. And just after the season, I suppose I was a bit pissy. It's my lowest rank in a long time. And I was looking around the place, and yeah, I said, like, I saw people that didn't have Trent all year or didn't have KDB, and I was just kind of going, man, like, these are players that I thought you'd be an idiot not to have, and you've smashed my
Yeah,
rank. You know?
yeah. Like looking back at the notes that I had there, like I remember fellas coming up to me that summer, and they were like I saw like how well you did. Like you had Robertson all season, didn't you? I got rid of Robertson in game week 4. I didn't have him for the rest of the year
Why would they say that?
because that season Robertson was top scoring defender like in history.
Yeah,
I
So
didn't
they
have him
just
since.
assumed that you must have had him all year to do
I
that
must,
well.
yeah, there was no way I could have done well without having the best scoring defender in history.
it's fair. It's a fair statement. I mean, they're wrong, but it's a fair statement. You
Yeah,
know?
but like after game week 4, I got rid of him on wild card and never got him back in. Like,
And do you think you changed your approach last year any bit, or is there less, the lessons from that you learned that season? Did you forget them last year? What way did things change that last year you didn't do as well?
changed my strategy a bit. I like after reading the notes I'd read today, I changed my strategy completely. Like, um, I played with a fear. I played like with this, looking at effective ownership of Vardy this week is probably going to be 130%. You have to captain Vardy. You have to own Vardy. Whereas the season before, like I didn't worry about those things. Like I wanted a player who would score the most points, and I'd captain that player.
Simple as that.
Simple that.
So trying to like not follow the herd mentality. So do you think that actually being on something like Twitter where you see what the herd is doing a whole lot more, you would I often find that that's kind of helpful. You kind of know if all these top managers are thinking the same thing that you're kind of thinking of, then that must be the right decision. But do you think that's actually detrimental to, your decision making?
Like I think I found it like helpful when I was in a strong position, but to get to the strong position, I needed to like have that fearlessness,
Right.
and um, I showed the fearlessness early doors, and I said like I got rid of Robertson game week 4. I had no Liverpool defender until game week 9, and when I got in Trent, and I've written down my notes. You fucked up. You shouldn't have got Trent this week. He got injured in the national duty.
Why did
Right?
you get him that week?
Mm.
I got him in like I thought he was going to do quite well, and he did. But like 4 weeks after I held him, I was like, bad call, bad call, bad call. I was grateful in the end that I held him
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he scored Robertson for the rest of the season for less money, and like this is another point that I noticed there with Trent. Like fellas were saying, oh, he's not nailed. Robertson is nailed. But like if a player like I was confident in taking Trent points plus the auto subs points, and I saying that they would have scored Robertson on his own,
Yeah.
even if my auto sub was 2 points here and there, like, and I was proved right with that. There's no way last season I would have played with that mentality. I
Mm.
lost that fearlessness.
Yeah. And is like one of my questions I had here was if you could change any one thing differently about last season with the benefit of hindsight, what would it be? Would it be one of those lessons or would it be something else, do you think?
Um, like I think last year as well, I didn't like predict the future. I didn't try and predict the future. I was gonna basing my team selection kind of like a chasing points scenario. Whereas the season before, like I saw that Matt Doherty scored an own goal in game week 2 and he lost value. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Like his ownership's gone down, his price has gone down. Bought him for 4.4 because he was getting loads of chances of shots in the box. He got 3 double-digit hauls in the next 4 weeks.
Smashed it.
So like, I absolutely smashed it. Already smashed it, and he helped me to smash it. You know, and
So-
whereas last year, I remember saying to my uncle, "Get in Pookie, like Pookie did well this week." He got in Pookie, he captained Pookie. Pookie got a hat trick.
He captained Pookie in what, game week 2 or 3 or something like that?
Game week 2 or 3, yeah. I didn't have Pookie all season like that. And I remember as well, I looked at the Joe's was imminent table, and I was dying to get in Antonio. I was like, he's playing Norwich. He scored 4 goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, got him in that week.
I had the balls to bring him in. Whereas the week previously, I got in Aaron Connolly for a hit against Norwich. So why wouldn't I take in Antonio for a hit? You know, I was just made stupid decisions like. I know Connolly had the Irish factor, you know.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see him do well. And I was at a stage there where I was just trying to make the game more fun for myself. Whereas like, I suppose if I'm to be honest to myself, the way I find the game fun is just scoring the most points. And like Antonio was the way to go. What down Hanley.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah. I have one more question there for you, Cian, in relation to your successful season. Then I'll hand you back over to Jar in case he has any questions about what your plan is for this season. But what was your approach to transfers that year? Were you aggressive in making early moves early in the game week to build value, or did you kind of make your moves later on and like just before deadline? What was your kind of approach, and was that the same last year, or did it change?
I think I was probably making them at the start of the season in 18-19, like kind of Thursday Friday job. And the time that I mentioned when I brought in Trent in game week 9, it was international break, and I brought him in like the Sunday at the start of the international break. Like on my notes, I'm like, I think that was stupid because I should have brought him in like 4 weeks later, let alone 4 days later. You know, but as the season went on, I left it later and later. Like I was even sure my free hit team was the free hit team I wanted to confirm because I left it so late. You know, the deadline 11:30. I confirmed it at 11:29, 59 or something ridiculous like that. Like, no, that would have been my sub or something, but I was willing to leave it that late. And I did that again this year, and I came backfired, especially post-lock. But I think I was more confident in myself. You know, like the higher up the ranks you are, the more you're confident in yourself. You're willing to trust your own gut. And you know, as in like I'm looking at this season as I probably learned more from the season just gone than I did from the previous season. Like what did I do wrong? You know, like what can I do better? And look at retrospect, right? Just exactly what I could do better.
Yeah, that's why it's interesting to have you on, because it's hard to learn lessons from the season you did really well, because everything you turned to goals. You know, what can you learn from that? Just do everything. Whereas having had a comparatively bad season, no, it wasn't even a terrible season, but just a comparatively bad season. Following year means I just felt like your brain was ripe for picking this year, which is why we wanted to get you on here. But look, you sound like an advocate for transfers later in the deadline, closer to the actual deadline itself. And I always found that interesting, what people's approach was to that, and it obviously brought you success. So, look, thanks for sharing those tips from that year. Like, you did want to, we've been running a small bit long here, so I know you want to touch on his current draft as well.
I knew this would happen as well. It's basically like we're hitting the 45-minute mark here, and I honestly feel like I could chat away for 60 to 90 more minutes without even thinking about it, which is like, how the fuck is 45 minutes gone? But I do want to hit on the current drafts before we wrap this all up. And I've got your draft there up on the screen. For the audio listeners, you'll have to just use Cian's silky voice to imagine where this is going. But talk us through your 2021 kind of approach here. I mean, I can see, for example, for a start, you're going all out on Spurs. You get 3 Spurs in your team.
Do I have 3 Spurs on my team?
Yeah, you've got Doherty, Son, and Mitrovic. Or fuck, Mitrovic is I. This is what happened. You've got Mitrovic, the 6 million Spurs option. This is what happened before we started recording. Someone showed me 3 Spurs, and right there, I thought, oh, I've spotted something I didn't spot before we recorded. No, you have 2 Spurs in your team. So I'll take all that back and just talk me through fucking your thoughts for 2021.
Yeah, so like I suppose I'm set up with a 3-5-2 longer term. As things stand, that's subject to change prior to the deadline. My goalkeeper situation is I'm set up the West Brom double up actually with Johnson and Butt.
Yeah.
Now, look, it's cheap. It's 8.5 between them. I was looking at TED Talks FPL, and he's predicting that West Brom would have something like 8.5 clean sheets over the course of the season, which is like 1 clean sheet less than McCarthy would get. Well, Southampton, I should say. And
that's like 2 episodes now in season 3 that we've promoted TED Talks FPL.com. First one, I was just trying to justify stealing his decent fixture list. Right now, Cian, I'm actually a little ashamed of you that you've brought this right up.
I'm so sorry, but it does have lovely grass.
They do have lovely grass.
They all have lovely grass.
Okay, so yeah, the expected kind of goals or clean sheets over the season is actually not too much between them. So you're thinking happy to go with West Brom.
Yeah, but as well with West Brom, like you're thinking, like they're probably going to concede more shots, which means he's going to probably concede a handful more, but he's going to rack up the save points too. And
his penalty record is pretty
St. Johnson
decent.
is known as a penalty saving hero. Like there's a 5 he saved in one season, and season just gone he saved one as well. So even if you saved 2, like you're looking at 5 points for the save, he's going to be in good position for 3 bonus points in that game as well.
Interesting.
It is interesting. Do you play football yourself, Cian?
I'm in early retirement, looking to go back into it eventually. Like,
I was just wondering, are you a goalkeeper by any chance? I was wondering if you're a goalkeeper by any chance.
No, I'm not.
I think the West Brom. I mean, you're making me second guess. Like, I went with Ryan, but I did a silly thumbnail there in preparation for this season that I never used, and I used Johnston, and that made me read up about him. And like, he's penalty saves, and I think he's played every single game since the start of 2018-19, or at least every single league game. So he's pretty fucking nailed on. And I have Button already, so it might be easier. But looking at the rest of your team, you're going with Greenwood on the bench. His frolics in Iceland aren't scaring you off, no?
It just scared me off, right? But I'm not ready to commit just yet.
Neither is he.
Supposed maybe hoping. No comment. I suppose I'm waiting on Violi's press conference. It'll come out there maybe Thursday or Friday.
4.5 forward, Cian.
No, it won't. It won't come out. It won't come out.
It'll be absolute lies. But you've also got a 4.5 striker there, Davis. We share that in common. And I've actually felt kind of like I was making a bit of a mistake. Maybe I was overlooking the striker options, especially last week looking at Seamus's team. But seeing you with a similar, like, you've sacrificed a 4.5. Now, is there a particular reason why you think it's in the forward line you're going with that? Like, where you don't feel you need 3 forwards?
I think it was a case of looking at the midfielders prior to Greenwood's alleged misdemeanors, that the midfield, like with a 5-man in there, looked fairly solid. Now, since they've come out, I'm getting kind of the heebie-jeebies, and I'm wondering, will I switch to a 3-4-3 and kind of, I suppose, COVID-proof the team?
That's what I did, like, pretty much yesterday, and I was actually happy to do it. I said it to Seamus as soon as I heard the news. I was like, this makes it a little bit easier for me, because I had Greenwood on the bench, and the rest of my team is kind of dog shite. and I was like, I don't have to make a transfer in game week 2, and I've got Crystal Palace, and I'll probably go Son to Fernandez. That'll give me, two big United players coming into it. But when I heard that instantly, I was like, nope, fuck it, Greenwood. I was wrong. I was being silly. He's gone out of my team, and you're saying like, no, that's not the case for you.
It's not the case to me yet. I'm going to give myself another couple of days to think over it. Like, if look, kind of supposed looking at my draft as a whole, like Trent and Doherty, I suppose, are kind of set and forget options at their price points. Like Vinagre, if he were to stay, no, there's nothing to say he's going to stay at the moment. The way things are
It's
looking
come out
again.
that apparently like Porto can't afford him.
But then I read again that they might just take him on a season-long loan
Why
instead.
would you loan out a left back when your first team left back is, injured?
Yeah, but
There's signing.
Porto going to move it left back in the
No,
other
Cian,
direction.
you're wrong, and you
Oh.
have a vicious temper. But moving on to your captain, you've got the C set on Aubameyang. Is that nailed?
Yeah.
You've got Salah there too.
If Salah's to stay, it's not nailed. If Salah's to move on, it is nailed.
If who's to move
look,
on?
If Salah's to move on,
Yeah,
I
what
said
the
it.
fuck are you talking about?
I'm
Seamus is
I look fan.
disgusted looking. I actually think I saw him get
I'm
sick a
strongly
little bit.
considering the.
I'm just disgusted he hasn't got Mane. All the cool kids have Mane.
I should have
It's a
Mane
Salah puck.
and Salah, shouldn't I? Yeah, like if you look at Salah's fixtures from game weeks 2 to 5, he's got 3 away games. He scored 4 away goals last season. No, I know he can score goals because he scored 1 in 5 last year. But they're away against Chelsea and Everton, like Chelsea and a derby match. His home game against Arsenal, who have improved in defence, and the other Villa improved in defence post lockdown. So, like, do we really want to keep Salah just for the Leeds game if I'm not going to cap?
That's a good point. I get you. When you said move on, I thought you meant transferred out of Liverpool. I was like, are you smoking crack, Cian?
No, he's gone nowhere. He's gone nowhere.
But no, that's
The only fella that
that's
might
an
move
interesting
on
point
is Ronaldo.
in regards to Salah. Like, he does have a shit ton of tough away games, but if he stays in your team, are you still Aubameyang over Salah for game week 1?
I'll probably move Salah out in game week 2, so I would probably captain him out of obligation in game. I want to go with Aubameyang. That's the long way around to saying I want to go
It does.
Aubameyang.
It sounds very much like you want to go Aubameyang, and you're just making excuses to captain Salah at this stage.
I don't know when I'm going to have him back again. But I'll probably have him again.
That's fair enough. Looking at other aspects of the season that's about to smash us in the face, are there any golden rules? Like, you've touched on it now a bit, but for anyone listening to the pod that might be new to FPL or that isn't too familiar with the game, like, are there any golden rules that you have that, whether it's this season or since the dawn of time, that you just apply?
I think it's a case of, for me, is that, like, I want to go with the decision I'll be happy to get wrong.
I get you.
Not the decision I'm happy to get right. Like I could say I want a captain, I don't know, Ruben Vinagre next week, and he scores a hat-trick from left back. I'm delighted. But instead, it's more likely that he'll concede 2 and get yellow card. So, like,
Yeah,
do you know?
I get you, man.
So, like, I'm happier to go with Salah as the captain, and for him to get a 2-pointer, than for Vinagre to score a hat trick as my captain. Like, you got to play the odds.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's fair.
Like, that's if you want to boost your rank. Look, if you want to have fun playing the game, it's all well and good, like. But you got to play the odds longer term. Well, like, once or twice a season, you can have the punt. But, like, the other 36, you've got to
Are
play
there
it
any
safe.
golden rules like you'll never break and never have broken?
I will never have a premium keeper.
You'll never
example.
what?
Premium goalkeeper.
Oh, fair enough. That's interesting.
Yeah, I like the value in there in comparison to the cheaper goalkeepers, they make less saves. No, I might stretch it to 5 million, but that's not premium. That's mid priced. But I think 4.5 is the way to go. Um,
Yeah, I got.
there's no else jumped out to me, but
Yeah,
Would you captain a defender?
um,
you've got Doherty and Alexander
I
Arnold
can't
there.
say enough in gaming
Oh my
32.
god. So did Seamus, so he can't fucking say anything.
Yeah.
I
You
didn't
did
captain him.
it.
Oh,
As far as this show is
I
concerned.
did. I did. Yeah, but I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I didn't
You
triple
didn't
captain him.
triple captain.
That was.
Big fucking decision.
But I also didn't. I didn't go triple defense. Some people went triple defense and captain him, and I was like, okay, that's too much
I went
balls on the
triple
line.
defense, but didn't captain any of them. Yeah, you captained him and went double defense. I remember because I taught.
Yeah, I had Ryan, I think,
Yeah.
with him.
No, that's fantastic shit.
We all got caught in that one.
Yeah. I think in there's 2 or 3 occasions since I've met people from Brighton in West Kerry, and I burnt the ear off.
Over Shane.
And I end up like, he's useless, he's this and he's that. You want to press.
Well, they'll be probably a little bit more indifferent now that he's gone to ply his trade in Celtic for the upcoming season, and I hope he does well. But say that again.
Pastures
new. Exactly. Before we wrap this shit up, I got one question, and I think we kind of touched on it already, but I want to expand on it a little bit more. It's, why do you keep playing FPL? Why do you keep coming back? Is it the competition? Is it the community? Is it your innate fucking ability at knocking them out of the park? What is it?
A lot of it actually is the community thing. Like when I first joined Twitter, I had no intention of ever actually interacting with anyone. It was just a matter of like trying to tidy up my personal account, and then before I knew it, I was a member of a group chat, and now like I talk to fellas and that more than I do to my own group of friends.
Yeah.
Like even
I heard they're a bunch of cunts. Gowls, sorry.
Yeah. Gowls, yeah. Come on, this is Limerick term, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Term of endearment.
Yeah, that's it exactly. No, like I love just the even big Twitter. Like I've good enough time for that, but like the group of lads you get to know really closely, like through a common bond over FPL, it's huge. Like, sure, like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that particular community. Having the chance with she, and like, yeah, I enjoy the competition each year, and like I love learning about football.
Do you think that
Stupid things
the
like
competition
more shots to the back
has meant less
like,
as the community has grown for you personally? Do you think like the competition, like you mentioned the start of it, that it was like maybe a bit more difficult to take an average season or an average game week, but as it's gone on, the fact that the community is growing constantly, has that made it like your overall rank or your stats that a little bit less significant, and it's kind of still about the crack regardless?
Yeah, no, I'd like to agree with you on that one. Like, but then it's hard as well. Like, okay, that's saying it's hard is wrong term. Like, there's so many fellas out there that have fantastic ranks, and you're like, oh, I was there once. Like, why is he doing well now? Why can't I do well? Like, there is that little bit of what's that? What's the word I'm trying to look for?
Envy.
Yeah, there is a little bit of envy, like saying, how come you're able to do that now? And like, what have I done wrong? And you're kind of putting a lot of pressure on yourself that way. But at the same time, then like you're having the laughs and the jokes with these same fellas, like, so it does kind of in a long way.
I'm with you a little bit.
Make it easier.
I think the community makes it a little bit easier, especially because of how much it's fucking expanded with this. But I feel like we've picked your brains quite a bit, and I'm done interrogating for a little while, Cian. Seamus, have you got anything you might want to wrap up with, or are you good? What's the story?
No, nothing jumping off my head. But I would echo his sentiments to what he said. Is that the FPL Twitter community has been great. I'm actually probably chatting in like private group chats and stuff like that, and in DMs on Twitter than I actually am in big Twitter, as we call it. over the last 2 years, met a lot of good personalities there, and just people you kind of learn to recognize, appreciate their input more than the general Twitter noise out there and the outrage and the everything that goes with it.
I'm with you.
Don't want to mention the wrong thing in there, but as I said, like, we all want to talk shite about football in the pub when we're chatting to people. But how many times have you all been stuck next to somebody who reckons they know what they're talking about football, but actually doesn't? Whereas on Twitter, you can talk to people that I've spoken to this guy enough. I know he knows his stuff, and you can actually listen and pick up that gem about which Brighton player you actually should look at.
You're spot on, Seamus. You're spot on. And there is more than Twitter out there. I know none of us, I can't speak for Cian, but myself and Seamus can't really contest too much, but there's like FPL Reddit and even like websites like the Scout and etc. that they all have their own little communities out there, and it is fantastic to see it constantly expanding and growing. I'm a little bit worried about overall competitors this season, but that's something for another fucking podcast. I think that about wraps it up. If you want to check us out, you can hear us on all of the audio platforms. If you're watching this on YouTube, even if you're not watching this on YouTube, just please go on. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Just do something. Even if you don't like this shit, just do it. But I assume if you're here by now, you're probably okay with it. I want to wish you all the best in game week 1. Seamus, you're going to want to say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah. Have a good game week, guys. Hope it's worse than mine.
Fair enough. Cian, I want to thank you for
just being honest.
I want to thank you for coming on the show. As I said, first ever guest. I've had a fucking ball. I'm looking at the time here and I'm just thinking, man, I wish there was another 30 minutes. I've had a real fucking a real blast. And yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
No, lads, thanks a million. I was delighted to talk to you, and I suppose good luck with the season is the main thing.
It is. Good luck to you, Cian. Good luck to you, Seamus. And God bless.